Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all of the wonderful products we enjoy.
The Port of Richmond is returning to its roots. Some gardeners can harvest fresh greens right into winter, and a Southwest Virginia farmer has taken the lessons he learned in the military to build a promising business.
Welcome back everyone. We're here in Powhatan County at the Moyer Farm, and as you see behind me here we have some grain silos, and grain is one of those commodities that is traded all across the world from Virginia. And as Dave Miller reports, agricultural exports have been essential to Virginia since Jamestown.
Richmond has been a key ag trade center for centuries. Tobacco and other farm goods were shipped by land to the city, where the rocky rapids prevented larger ships from continuing upriver. Today, the container on barge service at the Port of Richmond connects the Port of Richmond to terminals at the Port of Virginia in Norfolk. Barges are already sailing 3 days a week, and a fourth day could be added soon, thanks to high demand.
The Port of Richmond, we move containers. We also move a lot of agricultural products. The containers are full of almost anything that a consumer would use. It's full of parts for automobiles, consumables, and we also move a lot of empty containers that get repositioned to go inland. So the container on barge service pushes the Port of Virginia's reach 100 miles inland. And you as a cargo owner, it saves you almost 200 miles round trip on your truck trip.
Grain is brought in by trucks and checked for dryness and weight. Care is taken to make sure the grain stays dry at all times. It's loaded into the containers by a conveyor system. Each container holds more than 50,000 pounds of grain.
I'm going to test the grain for the moisture and test weight to see if it passes going in a box. It goes on a box overseas to whatever country has purchased it. They ask specifically for type of grain, specific levels, moisture and weight.
Schooler Shipping is one of the biggest users of the Port of Richmond. They're an international company. They ship grain worldwide. The other big user is Purdue, the poultry company.
Ocean freighters used to dock right in Richmond, but Harris says the James River isn't deep enough and has too many curves for newer and much larger ocean-going freighters. But the barge service has restored trade.
We also have a service that calls here several days a week where we move grain. And it may be corn, it may be soybeans, any one of a number of grains that get loaded into large hoppers. And behind us there's an auger set up. These barges get filled. It's a very weather-sensitive cargo, so we don't move it during the rain. The barges have sliding roofs on them, so we fill them, close them up, send them down to Norfolk. They get loaded into a grain elevator in that harbor, and then they'll go overseas. So the grains come from Virginia farmers and then farmers beyond the Commonwealth.
After years of poor business, the Port of Richmond is growing again and has become an important part of the Richmond area economy. There are large warehouses on the site. Items like raw rubber from Liberia and Indonesia are stored at the port before being trucked to tire factories in states like Ohio. Other items shipped through the port include chemicals, forest products, frozen seafood, fresh produce, steel, stone, aluminum, and tobacco. The city of Richmond gave the Port of Virginia a long-term lease as an incentive to make improvements.
The Port of Virginia is a large economic engine in the Commonwealth, contributing 375,000 jobs and more than $60 billion in annual revenue. So this Port of Richmond, where we are today, is a very important part of that machine. Our effort is to grow this facility. It had a tough time during the economic downturn. We're bringing it back, we're investing. The crane you're seeing working behind us is going to get replaced in about 2 months with a brand new mobile harbor crane. It's a $4.3 million investment.
Just as it has for centuries, it looks like there will be agriculture products and container cargo moving down the James River for many years to come. In Richmond, Virginia, this is Dave Miller.
Agriculture exports to other countries account for a large part of Virginia's economy. Top buyers are China, Canada, Switzerland, Mexico, and Russia. The value of these products shipped from the Commonwealth topped $3.35 billion in 2014. That's an increase of 14% from the previous year. That makes Virginia the second largest agriculture exporter on the East Coast, passing North Carolina. The Port of Virginia's 55-foot deep channels in Norfolk are a major incentive for ocean-going ships to come to Virginia. It's the only East Coast port large enough to handle the super freighters now going through the Panama Canal.
Hi, today we're going to be talking about fall garden crops from the ground up. Please stay tuned.
I feel that family farms are very important because it's not just a living or occupation, it's a way of life. We live, work, and play right here in one location.
The grandchildren are around, and as often as they can, they'll come and say, "Grandma, can I help?"
There's a lot of challenges, but by having to be a family operation, it makes it all more enjoyable.
This is what I do, it's my livelihood, I enjoy doing it. This is my hobby, it's my vocation. It's a wonderful place to enjoy life with my wife, my children and grandchildren.
We're putting out a product for other people to drink and consume. We hope they like milk and cheese and ice cream and butter and all those good things.
What I've always done is what I enjoy doing. It's what I hope my family will continue to do in the future.
I'm Gerald Heatwell.
I'm Anita Heatwell.
I'm Monty Heatwell.
And I'm dedicated to dairy, our cows, our milk, and our land.
65 years ago, Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they worked so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. Anyone can be a Farm Bureau member, but the original promise remains. There's a local Farm Bureau in every county of the state. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. Visit our websites at farmbureauadvantage.com and vafarmbureau.org.
Our vacation in a Virginia state park was a wonderful idea. The lodge is beautiful and it has so much room. The park staff are super helpful, and the kids are having such a great time. We're learning all about Virginia's history, and Mark and I even have time for just the two of us. This has been a wonderful experience, and we've never felt so close as a family. We'd love for you to join us. Love, Virginia.
Chris Mullen says it's easy to raise your own greens, also known as cole crops, from the ground up.
Hi, and welcome to Virginia State University's Randolph Farm. Today we're going to be talking about what you might be able to put in your garden in the fall. And these crops that you see all around me are cole crops. That's C-O-L-E, not cold, although they do very well in cool or cold temperatures. They're also known as brassicas or the cabbage family of crops. They're crops that in most of Virginia you can plant in late August, early September, and run through now, November, December, January, maybe even on some of these. They can be a great crop for your garden that time of the year and can be very, very productive. Because they're in the same family, they all have very similar requirements. The spacing that you would space within the row, around 18 inches for most of these, the way that you would plant them, their pH requirement, for example, anywhere from 6.5 to 7.0 is good for most of these crops. They need a steady supply of water throughout the growing season, probably about 1 inch a week. And they need a fair amount of fertilizer that you can give them through amending the soil with compost or some type of synthetic fertilizer. And what we're talking about here is kale, cabbage, maybe broccoli, Brussels sprouts, collard greens, those type of crops. Now these crops can be transplanted or they can be direct seeded. Some of the crops that you see behind us were transplanted. Little seeds were put in pots and made transplants to go in the ground. Others were direct seeded. And what you might use for something like this, if you had a long row, would be a seeder like this, a push planter that you would use to go down and seed put the seeds in the ground, make nice long rows if you had a big enough garden. And also transplants like you see here. If you've got a greenhouse or the ability to buy these, most of these crops do very well transplanted. Now there are some insect problems with some of these crops, harlequin bugs, cabbage loopers, and you can spray some kind of safe chemicals like BT, but you can also cover these with row covers early on and keep the insects out. You're really excluding the insects. Well, these are collards, and this is a really nice patch of collards. The thing about them is you plant them in August, and they will get a nice light frost on them, and a lot of people say they even taste better once they've had that. So a fall planting of these is probably a little bit better than a spring planting. We've also got some broccoli here. Now, this is a great crop. People will also eat the greens of the broccoli, but really you're trying to get the head here that you see. And you know it's ready to harvest when these buds are starting to get tight. If they start to bloom, then you've gone a little bit too mature, so try to get them as they're swelling and just before they open up. Well, cabbage is another one, like collard greens and kale, that's pretty cold hardy. It can withstand light frosts. People are always asking, when is it ready to harvest? And if you look at this one right here to my left, it's not quite ready to go. This one in front of me looks like it's ready, and if you feel it, it's nice and firm, so this one's ready to be harvested and ready to be eaten. And then we've got kale. This is another great crop. People think of it as a superfood. They love it in salads and smoothies. Even deer love it. And sometimes it's hard to find seed, in fact, because so many people are growing it. Well, for all these cole crops, if you'd like more information, please contact your local county extension office. For From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins. We'll see you next time.
From the Ground Up is presented with the generous advice and assistance of Virginia Cooperative Extension. Visit their website at ext.vt.edu.
Late winter greens are a delicious, healthy treat for many Virginia families. Carissa Jackson has a unique recipe for preparing greens coming up next from the heart of the home. Dazzling lights on winter nights will put you in the mood for the holiday season. It's the Illuminate Light Show at Meadow Event Park, November 21st to January 2nd in Caroline County. This spectacular holiday lighting event takes travelers through a musical show of color, lights, and design. Giant animated displays and illuminated trees lead to Santa's Village, where families can visit Santa Claus and enjoy the sights and magic of Christmas. To learn more, go to illuminatelightshow.com.
Barry, time is running out. According to my calculations, 1 in 5 kids in America struggles with hunger. How can so many children face hunger when there's more than enough food to feed them all?
Babadoo.
You're right, Barry. We can help solve hunger by teaming up with Feeding America to get food to hungry kids in communities across the country.
Help Flint and the Feeding America network of food banks get food to the people who need it in your community. Find your local Feeding America food bank at feedingamerica.org/hunger.
Together, we're Feeding America.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
One of the most popular varieties of collards in the South was developed at the Old Virginia Truck Experiment Station in Virginia Beach during the Great Depression. Called by the acronym VATES, it is a staple in seed catalogs. It's slow to bolt to seed, and old-timers know it often tastes sweeter after the first frost. And while it's popular in the South, this variety is grown as far west as Oregon. In warmer climates like Virginia Beach, collards actually grow throughout the winter. Collards and other winter greens like spinach and kale have been called miracle crops because they sustained many families through the 1930s when food was scarce for many residents.
Some fresh vegetables may be difficult to find in the winter, but not collards. Carissa Jackson has a unique recipe using collards in the heart of the home, courtesy of our friends at Relay Foods.
Hi, I'm Carissa Jackson for Heart of the Home, cooking at the kitchen at Meadow Hall at the Meadow Event Park. Today we're going to be making hummus and quinoa collard wraps. So the first thing we're going to start with is 1/2 cup of quinoa. We're going to put that in a saucepan with 1 cup of boiling water. And we're going to add a little bit of salt for taste. We're going to let this boil for about 20 minutes. And meanwhile, we are going to start making our hummus, and then I'm going to show you how to make the collard wraps. So to begin our hummus, we are going to use 1 can of chickpeas, juice of 1 fresh lemon, and 1/4 cup of tahini. And then this is the part where you can add some of your favorite spices like garlic, onion powder, but today we're going to use cumin. Add it to a food processor. So this might be the part where you notice that your hummus might still be a little bit dry. So in order to make it a little more pasty, we're going to add a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of water. You can do this repetitively until your hummus gets the consistency that you prefer. There we go. And in between adding your water and your olive oil, you can keep adding seasonings to taste, just to make sure that your hummus doesn't taste too watery or very bland. So we're going to add this to a bowl and then set this in the refrigerator, or you can set it to the side until it's time to assemble your wraps. We got all of our ingredients for today's recipe from Relay Foods. And as of now, our quinoa is at a rolling boil, and so we want to turn down our burner till about medium-low heat and let that simmer for about 15 minutes. Now it's time to start working with our collard greens. So over here, as you can see, I already have made some leaves. What I did here was devein them, so I'm going to show you so that you're able to use them as a wrap. If you were to leave the thick stem in there, you wouldn't be able to roll it without breaking. So what you're going to do is just take your knife and get as close to the edge of the leaf as you can without cutting through the leaf. And then you're just going to slowly cut at the stem until it's completely off the leaf. It should look like this. You'll see the white part of the stem and you'll be able to roll it more easily. Collard greens are becoming increasingly more popular this day and age as we're finding more ways to be healthy. Collard greens can be found at your local farmer's market. People still grow them in their gardens like my family used to do. We didn't cook them this way. We had a lot of ham, a lot of oil, and a lot of sauteing. So I'm so grateful now that there are different ways that we can incorporate one of my family's favorite types of greens. Now it's time to assemble our wraps. Our quinoa is ready to go. So to do this, we're going to first start with one of our collard wraps, and we're going to put a generous portion of our hummus and spread it all along the center part of our leaf. Then we're going to take a little bit of our quinoa, stick it along the center as well. And you can be as generous as you like when filling your wraps. Then here we have a bowl of finely chopped cauliflower. We're going to add that to the center, as well as some fresh red onion, some thinly sliced carrots, and then we're going to finish it off with some pumpkin seeds. And then we're going to wrap. This is a perfect recipe if you were trying for one night of the week to do something meatless. This would be a perfect recipe to add. And then once it's closed, you can either close it with a toothpick if you like, if you're going to serve them family style on the table, or you can just do it taco style like we just did. So here we have our fresh quinoa and hummus collard wraps. I'm Caressa Jackson for Heart of the Home. Come and get it.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Relay Foods website at relayfoods.com. Visit the Virginia farm that produced an American legend. See the birthplace of 1973 Triple Crown champion Secretariat, now a Virginia Historic Landmark, at Meadow Event Park. Our Hoofprints of History tours are given year-round by reservation. It's a perfect day trip for families, groups large or small, and anyone who loves horses and history. Resident author-historian Leanne Meadows Layden conducts the tours and shares behind-the-scenes stories about Meadow Stable and its most famous son, Secretariat. Meadow Event Park also hosts the annual Secretariat Birthday Celebration at the Virginia Horse Festival each spring. Visit Secretariat's birthplace at Meadow Event Park.
Mom, can we get some ice cream? Please, Mom, please.
No, we're having dinner soon.
Please.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Southwest Virginia is known for its scenic vistas and, of course, American roots music. But as Norm Hyde reports, area farmers are also building businesses in this remote part of the state.
The term entrepreneur conjures up an image of someone starting a software company in Silicon Valley, not a retired Marine with the dream of becoming a goat farmer. But that's exactly who has succeeded in creating a successful business from a ridge high in the remote mountains of Lee County.
We started this, it wasn't intended to really be a business. We started with a garden plot. We had too many vegetables. We took some to the farmer's market. I was kind of like, I like this. This is neat.
Joe Bates began what could be called a gentleman's farm, but that quickly turned into a business.
We had goals of getting a decent-sized herd going, breeding them, building up enough so where we could eventually go in and get a farm load to build up as a dairy. But we didn't think about the whole process in between and how much milk we were going to end up with.
That excess milk turned into a product that's very much in demand. The Bates family farm, old-fashioned soaps and lotions made from the same milk that had previously been discarded. Bates and his wife took a class on how to make goat's milk soap, and it's become very popular. He started by selling at the local farmer's market.
Just, that's neat, it's something local, it's old-fashioned fat and lye. And then all of a sudden they were coming back. And they were bringing friends, and people were coming to us saying, my cousin used your soap and told me all about this.
And they told their friends and family, and so on, until it was time for Bates to take some classes about how to be an entrepreneur. With the help of programs offered in Southwest Virginia for starting a small business, he's on the fast track for success.
We've got 17 retail outlets throughout Southwest Virginia and over the line in Tennessee. We have one over in Middlesboro, Kentucky, and we also have one in Pigeon Forge.
A loan from the Lee County Industrial Development Authority will assist in hiring, updating equipment, and keeping his operation growing, something that kind of happens naturally on a farm. In Lee County, I'm Norm Hyde reporting.
That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We're so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer. Whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape, we are proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.